Hi, everyone. Welcome to our early morning, Saturday morning briefing on the municipal elections and more specifically League of Women Voters plan of attack on candidate forums and also the mayoral forum and police council voter information. I'm Jane Ruby, president, and I'm happy all of you could join us this morning. So do you want me to lead with something just about the candidate forum process, Catherine?
I think the agenda, let's just go over the agenda. We're gonna start with Helene basically giving us some facts about the upcoming municipal election. Then we're going to go to the aldermanic candidate forums that we are in the process of planning for. Then and I'll lead that with help from Julia. And then Jane, you'll be talking to us about the mayoral candidate forums and potential for the offices. And then I will, and then Jane, you'll finish us also with something on the police district council. Okay. I think we should just get going with Helene.
Okay. This is just the specifics relating to what will be in the things we distribute to voters. So the election is February 28th. If we need a runoff, it will be April 4th, 2023. On the ballot, it's a much shorter ballot. Those of you who worked an election this time with 4 pages of ballot, you'll be very happy. We're voting for mayor, city clerk, city treasurer, one alderpersons or people or alders, depending on who's using which name for them, but there's one in each of 50 wards. And then the new thing is this district council members, and you will be electing 3 from your police district. And there are 22 police districts in the city, and on the second page, you'll learn about those. So those people are going to be elected as well. There will be citywide referenda. There can be a maximum of 3. And the Rules Committee of the City Council is considering on its next meeting 4 possible referenda, 3 of which from the mayor. So it's not clear what's going to happen with those, and we should know in the next couple of weeks what those 3 referenda are. Petitions are circulated. They're in the process of circulating already, up through Monday, November 28th. And in this case, you can only sign 1 petition. That wasn't true earlier this year with the primary. You could sign more than 1 petition for a candidate, for a position, excuse me. But with this one, you can only sign 1 petition for a particular office. This is the filing period, November 21st through Monday, November 28th. Then people object to petitions. So there's an objection filing deadline of December 5th. And after the hearings that take place that the Board of Elections runs, eventually they will be certifying the ballot. And hopefully that will be sooner rather than later, but we don't have specific dates. They have indicated that they want to do it as judiciously, as quickly as possible to certify the ballot. In terms of our things, we can now register voters for the election. Paper registration deadline is January 31st. Early voting is scheduled to start February 1st. That's possibly dependent on how all the certification stuff goes. Online registration deadline is February 12th. Requests for mail-in ballots will start November 30th and go through February 23rd, although it's not a good idea to wait until February 23rd to request your mail-in ballot. Are there questions about any of these dates that I have up here?
Julia has a question. Julia?
You're muted.
Sorry. Not a question. I just want to clarify on the petition signatures. I think it says it on your document here, but I don't know if it was clear in what you said. That for mayor, clerk, treasurer, alderpersons, you can only sign one petition. However, for police district councilors, the jury is out. Numerous attorneys believe that and when I say you can sign 3 petitions, a voter can do whatever they want. There's no consequences for any voter. You can sign all the petitions in the whole city, and there's no consequences for a voter. The question is whether or not the candidate that you have signed will be able to claim your signature. So with that little caveat, many attorneys believe that 3 candidates should be able to claim your signature, 3 candidates for a single police district councilor race. However, other attorneys have pointed out that since this is the first time this has ever been on the ballot, there is actually no legal precedent declaring that for this particular race. And so there's likely to be a challenge about that question that will go to court. But most attorneys assume that it should be fine, that 3 candidates for district councilor should be able to claim your signature.
Okay, Sharon had a,
Yes, I may have misinterpreted what you just, not you, Helene, but I forget who spoke just before me. Julia, thank you. But I would strongly recommend, if the rule is for mayor, city clerk, city treasurer, alderperson, you sign only one petition, that you inform voters if you sign more than one petition. If those 2 or more candidates petitions are challenged for lack of an adequate number of signatures, you penalize the candidate that you want to be on the ballot.
I think it's whoever gets it notarized first, right? They get to claim the signature.
That's open to interpretation, though, I think.
And I see Alona's hand is raised, but my hand is raised to respond to what Sharon just said. So please, moderators, just.
okay, go ahead.
Julia, go first since you're responding, and then we'll go to Alona. Thank you.
I only wanted to say that as somebody who has gathered hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of signatures, that it is so super tough to get you get 10 seconds of attention, and to get a voter to understand that nuance. It's a very good point you just made, Sharon, but that to get a voter to understand that is such a high bar, such a high ask. And we can't even get people to understand that they needed to check before they went to their polling place to make sure that they weren't in the wrong place.
Yeah, right.
So I think, very good point. We should, but I mean, it is such a nuanced point, and it is what it is. That's why we as people who are candidates are asked to collect 3 times the signatures that are the minimum required, specifically so that in case there are duplicates or triplicates or whatever that they can't count, they still get on the ballot.
So
Right.
I can't
Okay.
raise my.
I have a response to the response to me very briefly, if I may. I'm not suggesting, having myself passed petitions for signatures, that you try to tell prospective signatories the information I mentioned. I'm talking about during voter registration. You provide the information that I noted.
Okay. All right. Jane, I feel Alona needs to go next. We can keep it in our head long enough. In case Alona might have something to contribute on this topic. Alona, you'll need to unmute yourself before you talk.
Just a question of how are we to speak about district council members or district council councilors?
Counselors.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so that's all right. We should change the word. That's all. They're counselors.
Okay. Jane, sorry, go ahead.
So I will say, to go back to your point, Catherine, you are correct. So it is based on whoever. So if a signer has signed multiple petitions, like let's say for aldermen of the same ward, they it is whoever gets it notarized first technically gets the signature for their side. It is at the discretion of the petition challenge process to determine whether that even will play into a factor. So if another campaign thinks that there's, indiscretions in a petition, something like that will actually be scrutinized in the petition challenge process. So that's why the rush to get things notarized is really important if you're a candidate, because I've been at Board of Elections challenges where I have seen, which signer signed first, and I've seen that actually play out in challenges and seen people kicked off the ballot. So it is incredibly an important point to make, that it is, whoever gets that signature first.
Wonderful.
Okay, can I just continue and look at the
Yes.
second page and then I'll get out of
And
here.
Jane, can you drop these URLs in the chat for us?
Mhm.
So these are the links. The Chicago Board of Elections has all this information, including the number of signatures that you need and so on. Police district council candidate information. Again, I thought that was a decent website. It tells you what you have to do if you want to run for this position. Maps of Chicago police districts, in case you're curious as to how those work. And just in case you wonder, there are 20 of them, but it goes up to number 22 because there is no 13. It's a funny kind of history with that, but there are 20 different police districts, and you can locate which one you are in. I don't know how many of you know off the top of your head which police district you're in. If you go to Chicago Board of Elections website, your voter information, it will tell you. It says COD, Chicago, I think it says COD, but it's a Chicago Police, just CPD. We had a Chicago in Focus in September, where there was a discussion of this whole police reform issue, and it is available on YouTube with this link. So if you want to go back and listen to what the individuals had to say, this is where you can do it. Here's a citywide ward map, in case some of you are not familiar with the creative drawing in that. And if you want to look at your individual ward maps, that's also on the Board of Elections website. So there are all these links that you can investigate. I think that's pretty much it, unless someone has a question about something here.
That's wonderful, and I can't recommend more. The Chicago in Focus, that was so informative. If you were not able to go to that Chicago in Focus, just take a moment and click on that link and check it out. You'll need to unmute.
Oh, may I just add one other thing? If you're attending here and I have your email, I will send this to you as well. So you'll have it.
Yeah, we'll go through and make sure everybody's email. I'll see if I can pull that up from post Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Ilona, was that just leftover hand up, or did you have something you wanted to ask?
No, just a request that Helene send it all to us, that list. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, let me start my video. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am actually here. So next up is our the aldermanic forums that we are intending to do. This is an all hands on deck activity. You have no idea, Julia, how many vacant positions, how many incumbents are not coming back to us?
I think we have 11 incumbents that are vacancies. And then in addition, there are 4 seats that were vacant within the last 6 months, and the mayor has appointed a replacement, and that includes George Cardenas, where his appointment has not yet been appointed, but will be before the election. So, including the 4 that were just newly appointed and the 11 vacancies, 15. And then in addition to that, there are 3 or 4 races that are really strong opponents that have a very high likelihood of being voted out. So
right. So as you can see, those are the ones that we're most interested in, because we're here to educate voters. And if there's an incumbent that we know is going to be reelected, then we'd really have to take a pass, because we are looking at something like, what, 20, Julia? I mean, and things are still shifting, in fact, okay? So that's the plan. The plan is to get in there and do a candidates forum for all of those categories. Andrea, we're getting some noise from you. Can you mute yourself? I hate to mute phones.
No, usually you are able to mute me at your end.
Okay, I'll mute you. I'll mute you. I just want you to be able to ask a question, is what I hate muting people, because then they can't ask a question. But you can always use chat, okay? And so that's a lot. And those are throughout the whole city. Julia and I have decided that we will be the coordinators of this process. That doesn't mean that we will be holding all of these candidate forums. It means that we will be facilitating the candidate forums across the city. And what does that facilitation involve? Well, one, it involves helping you find a moderator out of that ward. You know that someone who lives in the ward, who votes in the ward, can't moderate. So we will help you find a moderator. In addition, we will help you with the questions. Now we're going to form a committee. We are already in pretty good shape, because Julie and I to do this, but we also applied for an intern from the University of Chicago's Institute of Politics. And two candidates for that position were very excited. And the woman in charge said, do you want to just take two? And we said, yeah, we want to just take two. So we have two interns who are going to help us with all of the details. Now, what are those details? Because you may be involved in some of them. We would like to make sure that every forum that we have across the city has a community sponsor. Community sponsors take various forms. One that we traditionally do, that we have every intention of doing for the 5th Ward, is holding that candidates forum at Montgomery Place, a senior living facility. We love it because that group, they just come downstairs. We have it usually after their big brunch on Sunday. So we have a captured audience, especially people who find it difficult to travel. So, and our dear Dorothy Shep, who lived there and always got us started at Montgomery Place, passed away in this last year. And we definitely want to hold something there in honor of her. So we're really excited. That's the only one that we have. It's not all nailed down, but it's the only one at this point we have any details for. So that is a community organization, in that case, a senior facility, which is really only supplying a venue. They're supplying a place for us to have that. We will do everything. We will provide all the volunteers, starting with the moderator, and we will provide all of the publicity, and we will provide all of the questions and everything that we start with. Julia, you have a question?
Yeah, did we want to say anything about community partners on forums? Are we skipping that for today?
No. I was just using Montgomery Place is only my first example.
Got you. Yeah, because you said that was the only one with details, and there in the 11th ward there is a forum where we have a community partner who's already got a date set.
Right. Oh, date set. Okay, didn't realize the date was set on that. That's very firm. Okay. Yeah, we have a few others that we're working on. And so one type is thank you for the venue. Churches are often that way, but what we get from the venue, Montgomery Place and various churches, are access to membership. They boost it. It's a good boost because that's what's really important about finding community partners. We want to make sure these are well attended. So we take attendance into account when we select a community partner. Sometimes community partners come to us. In that case, we need to, it's a rather formal word, but we do need to vet them. One important thing is that a community partner cannot be having a candidates forum with a view to endorsing a candidate in that race. No endorsements. This is just simply voter education. So we have to make sure. We had one 4 years ago with an indivisible chapter, and some indivisible, I know chapter is not the right word, but there's a something, whatever they are, locales will endorse. We went ahead with them, but they had to sign documents saying that they would not endorse because in that race. So we were able to go ahead with them, but we were very, very cautious to make sure that nothing came along later. And then the other thing is, we don't want to work with a community organization or any kind of an organization that has a stated agenda, especially if that agenda doesn't align with our positions. We don't want anyone saying everything was skewed in this direction because of that organization's involvement. Okay, and I can't even give you an example of that. I don't even want to give you an example of that. Yes, Sharon, you're muted.
Oh, well, thank you both for your work on this. It's gargantuan, yet to be, rather than what you've already done in organizing. I have a question about the mayoral candidate forums.
Oh, it's going to be the topic after this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait.
Sure. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is anybody, you can start popping your email in the chat right now. Anybody who wants to be involved in this across the board, we want you to work with us. We might come to your committee as we formulate some basic questions. What we'll have is we'll have a core of questions that we feel every single forum needs to bring up. And we will probably go to the Education Committee, the Government Committee, the Environmental Action Committee to get their questions in that core. And then what we will do is work with community organizations, work with people who are volunteering in that ward for some very ward specific questions. And those are always a lot of fun to come up with. Julie was first. Go ahead.
So 2 questions. You may have said this and I didn't hear it because I'm also managing my document over here. Did you tell folks that nobody can volunteer for a forum in where they live?
I did at the beginning. They can volunteer. They can do some things. They cannot be a moderator. That's it.
Oh, got it. Okay, and then my second question is a little bit of an admin question. I do have the clean document. Would you like me to share it as a way for people to start signing up on specific wards, or is that too much?
Let's hold off on that because I'm going to talk about the various ways that we're going to be claiming these, and then we'll do it. Okay.
Or if you want me to share the doc so that people, I mean, is there any reason to share the doc at this point?
And I'll tell you right when we need to share that, because yes, I do want you to share that. That'd be fantastic. Abigail, you have a question. You're muted.
The Loop unit, Catherine, is meeting Thursday morning at 10, which would be a good time because they're not going to meet again until the 3rd week in January, which seems too late. So if you can send somebody Thursday morning, that would be great.
Okay, you have anticipated the thing I was going to talk about next, which is perfect. But everybody hold that thought because we want to hear from Aisha.
I had another question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Abigail.
I suggest that you might make a map of the city of where these 20 are likely to be. I'm kind of a local person, and so something around me would be more attractive to volunteer on.
Yeah, and Jane and I had already, we're talking about this. right before this, we got started. And we will be taking the new ward map, which by the way, is quite different, I noticed when I was doing a couple of things. And we will outline in various colors, those that are, vacant will be like yellow, those that are, there's someone in the office who's never run before, and those that we find, we will put up, okay? And that will be, and hold on to that thought, because that's what I'm going to talk about next, okay? Okay, you're back again. I'm sorry. And you are.
No, I thought I raised my hand. Oh.
Yeah. Actually, you're.
I have somebody, there's a member who is compiling, and I thought she was going to be done by now, the wards of all of our members. So when that spreadsheet is done, it should be soon, that's something that you can use to find out which wards our members are in.
That's wonderful, because we'll probably create a toolkit for this, and that sounds like a beautiful item for a toolkit. Actually, you are still muted. Have you asked your question and didn't know? You'll need to unmute yourself. There you go.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I am a guest or a visitor here, so thank you all for putting this on. I received this information through my community organization. So I had a question on whether or not we have been asked as our community organization to host a candidate forum. I'm on the executive board for a group called Chatham United, which is a coalition of block club organizations in the 6th ward in Chatham. So we were asked to do this, and so I'm just trying to get some more information. And I just wanted to know, or just make sure that this will be the right form if I'm sharing my email address as you requested, if we would be able to, because we're trying to look into whether or not this will be something we would need to bring in a partner to do. They've already had 2 forms, but there's at least 12 candidates, and we definitely would need some assistance in doing that. So I just want to make sure that this would kind of be the right forum to reach out, and if we would be, I guess, qualified under you all's organizations. Hi, Shauna. To consider hosting something like that, and like what the rules would be if we wanted to do that.
Absolutely. And you know what? Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being the perfect example of what I was talking about. Sometimes people come to us and sometimes we go to them, and I love it when an organization comes to us, because then we're full throttle forward. And yes, we have worked with you before in voter registration drives. You're a fantastic organization for us to work with, and pop your email into the chat just in case.
And I would just mention, we are a newer organization, so you may have possibly worked with there's another one, and we are working on changing the name.
Something Greater Chatham. Is there one that has that expression? That
Greater Chatham Initiative is probably who you are more familiar with. They're a little bit more like, they're a larger organization. We are mostly a coalition of block clubs, so we have not to date been involved in any politics, any municipal efforts, anything like that. We are very, very, very local.
Okay, that's wonderful. Love it. Well, nothing changes. We still are very interested in working with you, and thanks for getting here early. Our shoulders sort of go down a little bit as we get our community organizations. Say to you, just so you guys can see the process happening, is you are the best one to come up with a venue for us. If you guys can start, if the block clubs can come together and find some central location, wow, that would be really helpful. So that would be the next thing, that just so you all get how the process works. The next thing is that we start talking about dates and venues. All right. And you can see it's complicated, right? And then we'll do volunteers, and we'd love to get community organizations, volunteers from our community organizers. Well, and maybe that's the next thing I should bring up. No, we're going to talk about how we get this going first. Hold on, Julia. Let me talk about what is involved before we start asking for volunteers or how we're going to get volunteers. Is that okay? I think that's probably the best way to go. So a candidates forum, we need a date. To get that date, we need contact information on all the candidates. Trust me, we will need like 5 different forms of contact information for some of them. One of them we finally got to from his Twitter account because we were getting nothing. So we will need to contact the candidates once we know who they are. We will need to organize a date that will need to be juggled with our community organization or our venue to make sure that the date is going to work for a venue. Then the next thing we were going to do is we will lock in a moderator. The moderator cannot, as I said before, be in that vote in that ward. So we will have a group of moderators. This is an overall thing we should have said at the beginning, and I didn't remember to do this. January 14th will be the last day, last session for moderator training. It's a Saturday morning, and we do this through the state, and we will be pushing out that date to everybody. I'm going to try and I find it difficult to have just one date. If we have a lot of people, we might be able to talk the kind folks at the state league to provide us with another one or a video or something. But save the date, January 14th for moderator training. So after we get all that done, contact candidates lined up, venue lined up, first the community organization lined up, then we go to the moderator. Once that's lined up, we are in pretty good shape. Then we start working with our volunteers. Now, the best way to do this is to have a committee for that particular candidates forum. If we have a committee, then we will meet and we will look at the questions that we have developed across the league, those standard generic questions for every ward. And if we need to tweak those for this particular ward, we will with that committee. And then we'll sit down and start talking about the ward. Okay, what else do we need? Now we get into something that you need to know. A lot of you have never been to a League of Women Violators of Chicago candidates forum. And this is how they work. They're not debates, they are forums. And I just have to say, as a classicist, it kills me every time I say forums and don't say fora, but if you see me cringe, you know why. Anyway, so these what we do is we have a set group of questions. Depending on how many there are, we alternate through the candidates. Sometimes when there are a lot of candidates, we have sets of questions and we tell candidates if they didn't get something from a set and we give them a nice bit of time at the end to recap, and we tell them to take a little bit of that time we gave you to answer that in their concluding remarks. So we basically, if there are only 2 or 3, everybody gets the same question. We had one with 8. It was painful, but we got through it this way and everybody came out happy and relieved that they got to answer the questions that they wanted to. Now, what we do not do, because we are very experienced, gone through all the problems, we do not let people stand up from the audience to ask questions. You know, those of us who are on the University of Chicago campus, we're not looking for someone who's causing trouble. We're looking for, we're not trying to, you know, we're not avoiding someone who's trying to cause trouble. That's one reason, because, you know, we do not want nastiness coming from the audience that we can't control to keep it fair. Anyone who comes, any of the supporters who come to our forums, They are to not wear their shirts and their buttons. And literature is not passed out until the end. It can be outside of the room on tables, but it is not passed out, and nobody can be showing strong support at the forum. The other thing is then, oh, and I was saying, if you're at the University of Chicago, it's not nastiness and sniping that you're afraid of. It's time. Oh my gosh, you should hear these graduate students get up, and it's like a 15-minute question. So there's a lot of reasons we do it this way, and we do get a lot of pushback on it, but we stand firm. This is how we do it. Now, that does not mean that the audience does not get to ask questions. This is why one important volunteer group are the question runners. The question runners, when people come in, we hand out usually an unusual color so that things, kind of like books. We hand out cards for people to write their questions on. The question runners will collect those, and we start sorting them. Question runners help sort them. Immediately, we eliminate every question that is already listed in our questions that are going to be asked, that the moderator already has. Those are immediately eliminated. Then we start putting in groups questions that are not there that we will ask. And then that continues through the debate, because people will think of questions. So if someone holds up a card, question runner will come grab it, throw it in the stack, and they're very busy sorting. It's kind of a fun job. It's, sometimes it's a little hectic. Did you have a question about what I was just talking about, Sharon?
No, but I do have a question about the rule, some of the rules for the candidates, as well as people in the forum. And my question is there a rule about videotaping the forum and use of that by any of the candidates or
Yes.
any of the candidate supporters in the audience?
Yes, I should have read that, but we have a document that every single candidate has to sign. And sometimes, and that it is about use of anything like that especially on their campaign site, because we don't want to be part of their campaign site. It isn't one size fits all in terms of taping and videotaping. For example, obviously for the mayoral, that's the whole idea, is that we want this taped, we want this, on the radio.
No, I'm talking about the alder person.
I know.
And the clerk.
The committee will review what they sign, make sure that that's the case. There will be press there, and so we do allow photographs. We like for people to know what's going on. But if we tape it and we put it up in the Illinois voter guide under that ward race, then wonderful. Okay. Jane, you had something for us.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it wouldn't be a problem, like if the candidate in question did a, thank you to the league for hosting this debate and then put a picture up, like that's totally fine, because that's also promotion for us, and it doesn't, mean that we're endorsing them. So that's something that they can do, a picture of them on the stage with, saying I was here and I participated.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely, it never, we don't know how many of these are going to have to be by Zoom and how many will be in person and how many will be hybrid. We hope that if it's in person, it's hybrid because there's nothing like being able to link to a full candidates forum in the Illinois voter guide. We definitely would. You want to be able to do that, but it depends on the venue, it depends on a lot of things, but we're leaving all that kind of iffy. But trust me, the candidate will sign something that says the rules that they have to adhere to. And some of those rules are what I've already said about participation. And okay, so you have heard about everyone pretty much who volunteers, the people who get it all together, the moderator, the question runners, one more, and that's the timekeeper. We need a timekeeper. And if we have a lot of volunteers, it's nice to have 2 timekeepers because it can get kind of hairy at times. And we have a little bell, we ring, whatever. So that's the case. Now, on now to how do we get everybody on board to participate, help us? How do we get you guys all working? Well, there's a lot of different ways. I'm a co-unit leader of the Southside unit, and I can tell you right now, we will be grabbing the Southside, as many of the Southside candidate forms as we can, and poll people from our unit to do all of those things. And we will have unit meetings, which will serve as the sort of quote unquote committee for those. That would be potentially the 4th. Sometimes, and this is something I didn't say earlier, sometimes a community organization comes to us, they have everything, we like everything they're doing, all they want is a moderator. That happens more often than not. Helene, it's that South Loop organization who often simply want a moderator, and Robin Charleston has been great for the last 2 elections, last couple elections, has been the moderator because she's in the 5th ward, she's not in the 4th ward. And so we count that as one of ours if we provide a moderator. Now, if it's something we're really interested in, 4th ward wasn't especially contentious this last time around. It probably was one we wouldn't have done. We might have done it, but it's hard to say. But if it's something we feel is a big, huge, it's something we're interested in, that's another story. Now, here's something that we did last time that works very, very well. And that is another organization will pull together a candidates forum. And let's say there are 6 candidates. We will sit back with the assumption that there will probably be a runoff. In which case then we will come forward after that one and do a runoff. Runoffs are great, especially for our young volunteers, because they've had a chance to be question runners and timekeepers, and they now know what's what, and they can be a moderator and get that on their resume. It's a great thing. We had a young woman, she was a freshman at the University of Chicago. She did 2 forms with us ahead of the runoff, and then she was the moderator for the 20th Ward Candidates Forum that we held. And it was great. She was fantastic. So lots going on. So right off, I would love to see every one of the units to do at least 1. And that map, Abigail, is going to be right there for your unit to use to think about which of the ones that we are intending right now. Things change, you never know. So that map will be useful for that. That'll be part of the toolkit. And then I think I've run out of steam on that topic. If you want to be involved, that's great. If you know organizations, a lot of you are in other organizations. We don't hold everyone's attention alone. So if your organization wants to do something, I know that's great. So Margie, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself? I hope you can. Phones are tricky. I wonder if I click that ask to unmute if you'll get a, oh, you got it. You got it. Good.
With respect to your suggestion that each unit work on a forum, I think that's a great suggestion. And I just have one quick question that I don't know the answer to because I've been away for over a month. Does the 34th ward have a contested election? At the time I left, that's a brand new ward now. There was only one person running. Does anybody know if that's going to be contested? That would affect who the loop unit looks to moderate.
That's a Julia question. Julia, what you got under the 34th? Anything?
Bill Conway, because Carrie Austin was indicted, and Bill Conway is the only one that I know of that's running. Is that the one that you know of, Margie, or do you know someone else?
No, that's the one I know of, and I was hoping we would have a second one, but it doesn't look like it, huh?
So we won't know until the petitions are filed, who's been circulating petitions for that. So petitions get, the first day to file your petitions is the 28th. So hopefully by then we'll have more information for that ward.
Okay, thank you.
Is that a good segue into sharing the list?
Yeah, but I want to just say thank you, Margie. Sounds like we got a volunteer here for the.
Well, I'll do what I can because I'm in town finally.
The unit, not you personally.
Well, I lead the unit, so sounds
Exactly.
good.
I know. Any more questions on what I've said before I turn it over to Julia to go through some things? Okay.
May I just clarify, Margie misspoke. The first day to file is the 21st of February. The last day is the 28th.
Right, the last day is the 28th.
Okay, so I've got my screen shared here, and I'm starting off with some notes that I've been taking while Catherine's been talking. I don't know about all of you, but I'm a more visual person. And before I get going, Alona, you've got your hand raised. Do you want to? You're muted.
You're muted, Alona. Unmute yourself, please.
But I also, looks like you're saying no.
Yeah. One question, the question reviewers, do they need to be people belonging to different parties?
No, and mostly, Ilana, because this is a nonpartisan election. Municipal elections are not. No one designates nobody reveals their party. They're nonpartisan. Okay.
So first up here, I've been keeping track of the people who are who have said they're going to volunteer. So I've got myself, Jane, and Catherine. We're obviously in, and Tina sent her email address. And Aisha shared her contact information. I've got Abigail and Margie's names, but I don't yet have contact info in the chat. And anybody else who is going to volunteer, I will add you to the top here. So and with your contact info. Next, all that terrific information that Catherine ran through, I was sort of keeping track of it here. This is our checklist for forums. I don't know, Catherine, if this is duplicative of something that you already have in writing. And if so, I apologize. But my brain, I only can take in information if I'm also seeing it in writing. So I've got it on the screen. And for those of you who are on the phone, just real quick, line up the co-sponsors, get a venue, pick a date, collect the contact info for all of the candidates and extend invitations. Lock in a moderator, line up a committee of volunteers. And then there's a bunch of stuff that you do with those volunteers. You propose the questions, you determine roles, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and did I miss a volunteer role? I've got moderator, question runners, timekeeper. Was there another volunteer role that I missed?
There is one more, and that is before the deadline for voter registration, someone needs to man a voter registration table for the event.
Okay. And then the next thing on the checklist for the forum is to set the agenda for the forum. And the main things that are there is customizing the questions for the ward, determining the candidates that get the questions, so on and so forth. And then I kept some of the rules, and I think I maybe missed some. But the first rule, audience questions are submitted in writing, not at a mic. That is a hard and fast rule. No literature can be passed inside, only outside. I put down no shirts and buttons, but I know that it's a little bit more nuanced rule than that.
It's tricky. What you don't want is you don't want the audience, you don't want the candidate packing the audience with people who are displaying his or her campaign stuff. I meant, I should have reread what we tell the candidate on that. We've got some language, but know that it's a thing. Just at this point, it's a thing, okay?
And then every candidate must sign our document. And the only thing that I have from that document is that the video of the forum cannot be used on their campaign sites. But I'm sure you've got other stuff in writing. We don't need to worry about that here.
Yeah, and I'll put that document in the toolkit.
Great. And then I made note of what Donna shared with us about the mayoral race, that the lead organization for this particular forum is going to be the Chicago Women Take Action at the Chicago Temple on January 14th. Then we get to our aldermanic races, and I am just going to run through this whole list with brief commentary as I go so that you get a sense of what's here, and then we can circle back to anything that people want. So what I've written down are the names of the alderpersons where we believe that there might be people challenging. And I have made some note of where there might be, stronger or lesser challenges. And also
50. You're going to run through all 50. So if we see Pat Dow on there with nothing next to her, that means we're likely not to hold one there. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So her name is here. That means somebody is challenging her. But if it says nothing else, that is an indication that at this point we aren't focused on that as a race. So these 11 and the vacancies. So Sophia King is a vacancy because she's running for mayor. And also I'll say that the ones that are vacancies, we are very likely to be running. But I mean, there are 12 people in most of these races where there are vacancies. And we also don't have any details. So we can assume that the ones that are vacancies, we're going to be looking at as forums. Anyway, so that's that. And then the Leslie Hairston one, I wrote down the information that Catherine shared about where we're likely to be having a forum. For 6, I shared the information about that Aisha shared with us that Chatham United would very much like to lead a forum there, but we don't have a date or a location yet. These are some of the candidates that are have opponents. Anthony Beal has very strong opponents for what that's worth, so I made note of that. Susan Sedlowski Garza running for mayor, Nicole Lee. This one is one of the 4 that are recently appointed, and the Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community has already picked a date of January 26th to do their forum. And I met with Grace last night, and she very much would appreciate the league as a co-sponsor or whatever.
You know what, Julia, I didn't see that Garza was running for mayor.
Yeah, I didn't either.
She just retired.
I'm sorry, that's inaccurate. She is not. She's retiring. I'm sorry, that's a mistake on my part.
She went pretty quickly from being exhausted to not being exhausted.
All right, thank you. That's a mistake. She is not running for mayor.
Can we just stop? Abigail, you got a question about what Julia's, you are muted, by the way.
Yes, this is a question about the fluidity of who's in the election. How many signatures do you have to run for alderman? Good signatures and for mayor?
Alderperson is 475-ish, and mayor is less than that. I want to say 425.
Really? Oh, so we can have lots of because like Brian Hopkins, they keep, is he going to run? Is he not going to run? And I'm not close to that question.
Yeah, Brian Hopkins, I would say, is definitely not running because he announced on Twitter 2 days ago that he was endorsing Tom Tunney to run. And then Tom Tunney announced on Twitter later that day that he is definitely not running. So to Jane's point, we don't know what we know until these things are finished, until they're on the ballot.
Yeah. And I'm going to be the killjoy here. We don't have time to talk about all of these individually as much as we want to because we still need to hear from Jane on 2 more topics. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Let me just say that information is in that first document that was on the thing I had that tells you exactly how many they need.
Right. Wonderful.
And so just very quick, these the vacancies and the vacancies for mayor, and I don't think there's any others that are particularly of note for us. But you can see like every place where there's bold, these are vacancies or hotly contested seats, and there's just a freaking lot of them. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you. And also 45, Jim Gardner, very strong opponent up there. She's been in the race for more than a year. Gil Villegas just lost in a landslide his congressional bid, so that's going to be a hot race for his seat. So anyway, That's that. Is there anything else that you wanted me to talk about with these, Catherine? I think I've already shared more than I was supposed to.
No, this is perfect. No, this is perfect. Could we maybe take your notes here and this list and include it in the send out of documents after the fact?
Sure. Yeah, and in fact, if anybody wants this now, I can share the link to the chat. Raise your hand, I guess, if anybody wants this, and I can put it in the chat.
Oh, go ahead, put it in the chat. Doesn't hurt.
All right.
Okay.
And that,
Yeah.
is that any other questions or any other commentary about the Abigail? Your hand is still raised. You have another question, or is that from before?
Excellent. Okay, I think we are ready to move on to mayoral candidate forum. Have fun, Jane.
Mhm. Great. So basically the past few, iterations, what we have done as the Chicago League is we have hosted the runoff mayoral candidate forum. So, with the last time, I don't even remember how many people were running. There was like something like 20. It's really hard to coordinate that many folks on stage and make sure people have enough time. So that's why we decided to just host a runoff. That one was hosted at Chicago State, I believe, with ABC7 as our co-sponsor. So that was also televised.
No. Just real quick, do you mind? We hosted 2 runoff election debates. One for television was with ABC Channel 7, and they provided the moderators from their anchors, and Telemundo was, I think it was Telemundo. Is that the one that's associated with ABC7? Sharon, you know this. It's Telemundo, right?
It's Univision.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I did get it wrong. And they provided a host. And that was for, and that was, they made that decision about waiting until the runoff because we do work with them. And the State League helps us with that, which is very nice. And then we did one for radio with the local NPR station, WBEZ, or 91.5. And again, that was the one that was at Chicago State. And that was, the host was Jen White, who went on. So they provided the host. And then we joined a couple of others for ahead of time with the DuSable Museum. Were you going to go on and talk about that?
Yeah. So I think the plan is, we currently have 14 people who have announced-ish that they are planning to run for mayor. We will obviously see who makes it on the ballot, but I think with that many people, we are once again going to focus our mayoral stuff on a runoff forum, which will happen before the April 2nd runoff. So that gives us plenty of time, not a lot of time, but enough time to sort of get all of our ducks in a row for a mayoral runoff. It seems that there's not going to be one mayoral candidate who is going to get 51% of the vote. So there will be a runoff regardless with this many candidates. There are also a few other, there will be other organizations that are going to be hosting candidates forums. One that we will be signing on as a sponsor is this Chicago Women Take Action one, and that's supposed to be for January 14th. But in terms of us organizing our own, that is not going to happen until the April one, and that will be the one that we claim as our own. Was there anything else you wanted me to say? The same rules apply for the aldermanic ones as the mayoral ones, in terms of hosting or helping or anything like that. It'll be the same exact rules. Something that I do want to, just quickly touch on that, I'm sure some of you had seen in the news regarding League of Women Voters and candidate forum work is, we're very committed to, asking all of the candidates to participate. There will be some instances where maybe candidates do not want to participate, but that speaks more about them than us as and our integrity as the league. So, we will invite anyone who, you know, is a candidate for either the aldermanic or the mayoral. And it is at their discretion whether, you know, they want to be accountable to the voters or not. If anyone has any follow-up questions on any, you know, of the stuff that's in the news or not, you know, I'll be happy to talk about that separately. The other, which we've touched on a little bit in the beginning, is there's this new thing called police council.
Oh, wait. Let me say something before we
What?
go to that, okay? There are also two other, there's the treasurer and the clerk, which are citywide. 4 years ago, we had a really interesting treasurer's candidates forum. We did that for the runoff for various reasons. We don't see a lot of strong competition. The incumbents seem to have nailed that down, but the second that changes, they will be forums that we will start looking at. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we'll obviously be able to readjust and be flexible if things come up once we see who is circulating petitions. But as of right now, we are sticking with the aldermanic and the mayoral in terms of the candidate forums, with police council being a new position thrown into the mix of all of this. We will have, and this is, you know, something, if anyone is interested in either the community policing side or police accountability side, we will be there is in the process a subcommittee for League of Women Voters of Chicago that will be that Sharon Welch will be in charge of, and we are hoping that, you know, that subcommittee can maybe put together some kind of candidate, you know, questionnaire guide, and be sort of our source of information going into the police council elections as well. We're going to kind of look towards this newer committee to sort of help, you know, navigate that side of what the elections are. So if anyone's interested in, you know, work on education around the police council elections, just let me know, and I'll, you know, make the right connections for that. There's a lot, you know, there's a lot of districts. So I don't think we're going to have the bandwidth to actually host individual candidate forums for those, but we do definitely want to be up, you know, part of the voter education process for this one, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of groups working in this space, you know, doing that. Yes, Catherine?
Yeah, and one thing that we talked about, and this is just iffy, is that if communities are interested, we might be involved in a straight up meet and greet, just to be helpful. We don't usually do meet and greets because it doesn't usually give people the information they need, but it's important that communities meet these candidates. So we might be involved in setting up a few meet and greets. Also, that questionnaire that Jane was just telling you about, obviously that will then be put into the Illinois voter guide. You saw questionnaires. If you looked at the Illinois voter guide for the last election, you'll see lots of answers to questions. We'll just take that and shove it right in there. That's basically what's up. Aisha, yeah, unmute yourself. Aisha. I just gave you an extra syllable.
It's Aisha. It's fine. Thank you. Thank you for. I had a question. One of the things about the police account, I actually can never even remember the title of the. It's been difficult, other than the city's website, to get any information about it. And so I'm not sure where to go. And I know we've had, like, most people have not even heard of that. So I don't know where, like, for example, I am actually, I'm a beat facilitator for the 6th district. I'm a CAPS beat facilitator. I'm the 631 facilitator, and we've got nothing, like no information. The DAC's like, there's been nothing other than what I was able to find out about the city. And I only saw that because I happen to have a social media friend who is running for one of the positions in another district. And so anything that we can do, or that any suggestions you all would have about how to get more information for that, that's not something I would probably be, because I don't know what the beat facilitator, if I could volunteer, but any
Yeah,
suggestions you all have for how to do that.
I can answer that. So Aisha, we actually did a really great part of our Chicago in Focus series, specifically on the police council elections and kind of, the history of how it came about, and then, sort of where we're at. And we had two amazing speakers come and speak about that. So I can definitely send you the link for that if you put your email in the chat. And that's something that would be great for you to share, not just with your community organization, but, feel free to share around, because it is a really great informational tool to give people some perspective. Unfortunately, we will not find out who is running for these seats until, they start submitting their petitions for it. So we don't really have a sense of, who's running unless people have already publicly announced that they're running for it. So, something that's been interesting to see is some of the incumbent aldermen are putting slates together of candidates. I'm sure the actual, police department is also going to be putting together slates for that. So we are watching, to see how all of that manifests. But until the petitions are filed, we won't really have a full sense of who's running where for what. But once we do get that information, we will also be able to be a resource, for that.
Thank you.
I want to add to that if I can.
Yeah, Julia.
So the organization that was primarily responsible for passing the law that created this position is called the it's ECPS, Empowering Communities for Public Safety. And they have a website, I can put the link in the chat, and they are probably the most comprehensive source at this point for information about these races and what they're all about. And so it depends a little bit on what information you're looking for. To Jane's point, nothing about candidates is worth publishing until people get on the ballot. But as far as what the law is about and what people's responsibilities are, and some idea of some of the candidates who have raised their hands in some of the districts, I would recommend that you head to the ECPS Coalition. And like I said, I'll put that in the chat if you'd like.
Also, Aisha, your position as beat facilitator would not negate you from, participating or doing any kind of informational promotion of any of the stuff. So that, the beat facilitator and, CAPS program is completely separate.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Margie, you have your hand up.
Sorry, it takes me a bit to unmute. I have one request and one question. The request is I can't pull things down from the chat. So could you please put everything that's in the chat, just put it in a document when you send out all the other documents. So we'll have the links, just like the link Julia last mentioned. So that was my request. And my question is, are we actually having a voter's guide for the Chicago municipal elections that people can access?
We will be using the Illinois voter guide, which will be have all of the candidates for the city, so that when you put your address in, it'll pull all that up. That'll be one thing we'll be doing.
Thank you.
And
Sharon?
we will incorporate those links that are in the chat into the document that we send, so you don't have to go through all of the, craziness that chat can, which we all enjoy, but is kind of.
My question is about the police councils. Jane, you mentioned there will probably be at least 2 or more slates of candidates. My question related to that, does the city ordinance for this allow slates? I'm not saying one can informally run as part of a slate. Can one run for these councils officially as a slate called X Or is the slate called Y?
No.
I'm asking this because
Oh.
in suburban elections,
Right.
slates are allowed. So people may not have that background that I do, but do these candidates still file individually, although there may be informal slates?
Yeah, so it's more of an informal slate process. It's a similar thing that you often see with any of the political parties who have their, endorsed group that they put on literature together or, send out mailers with. It's a much more informal process. So everyone still has to get on the ballot as individual people. But what we are noticing is, let's say ex alderman there, has 3 candidates. That alderman, will be doing promotion for those 3 candidates as, a slate. But it is still they still all have to get on the ballot.
Okay, thank you.
Abigail?
The voter guide came up, and I know there's one question pending from Change Illinois before the board on redistricting, but do we have a process in place? Are we going to get similar questions to what Change Illinois asked, where folks are asking the league to sign on to voters guides for other organizations? Did that make sense?
Well, I guess, I will say that, we pride ourselves on, handling things independently. It can get kind of complicated. And it's something that we have to be very careful of as the league, in signing on with anything with other partner organizations and the intentions of other partner organizations. Like, what Catherine said earlier, if a group is planning to endorse in that particular seat, we cannot participate in that. So, we tried to very much, kind of lead the charge on the nonpartisan side, and we make that very clear in anything we partner with. I don't imagine, it would have to be a case by case basis in terms of signing on to another organization's candidate guide, just because in terms of controlling the questions and ensuring that they are nonpartisan and don't have, a slant or a lean to them, we would just want to be very careful about that. But if there's, a certain circumstance, I'd be happy to, take a look at what they would want us to sign on to, and, we can make that decision
Well,
internally.
I know you guys have been really busy, and Catherine has something from them on her desk too. We've been requested from Change Illinois to sign on to a questionnaire about redistricting that they want to send to the candidates for alderman. So I'll wait to hear from you, right, Catherine? Just wait to hear from you.
Yeah, I was busy and passed that on to the executive committee and Tina. I thought that they got back to you, and I don't know. I will follow up, Abigail.
Thank you.
So I will say,
haven't heard anything. What?
so on a side note, Abigail, I'm not sure if you're aware of the Supreme Court hearing the case Moore versus Harper about the South Carolina.
Oh yeah.
So the League of Women Voters nationally, with all state leagues signing on in support of it, they've filed an amicus brief in that hearing, because they're really concerned about the repercussions of that Supreme Court hearing on the South Carolina redistricting case,
Right.
and how that'll impact states controlling redistricting and, fair redistricting policies. So I can send you the league press release, like the National League press release on that, because it might inform some of, your continued work on redistricting, moving forward.
And right now, I just had gotten a reminder from Change Illinois that they wanted to hear from their collaborative members. So, and I'm just bringing it up as a little bit of a reminder that that's one that's out there right now.
Also, another thing that I hope we do, and I don't see I don't see Chris or on this call, but we will, if they do it, work with WTTW on the municipal video voters guide. We did that 4 years ago, and our role was to, I don't know, it was kind of fun, actually. We shepherd candidates about in their studio, and it was fun. It was fun, and they put it together. And maybe this time, since we are doing so many candidates forums, we can help them a little more with the ability to contact all these people, because that was their hardest problem, was getting a hold of all these candidates to get them into their studio to film their 2-minute video voter statement. I think that's the deal. Anyone else have anything, especially with respect to candidates forums, what they need to know, whether they want to volunteer? You'll have Julia and my email addresses. If you have anyone, any organization that you want to contact for us, let us know ahead of time, and we'll be excited to check them out, work with them. We can close this all down. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a lot of work, but honestly, it is some of the most, I lost my words, soul satisfying. I don't know. That wasn't what I was going to say, but you get the picture, right? It's good work.
And if anyone's nervous about moderating, who has not moderated before, like, it's a really fun thing to do as well. And I highly recommend at least attending the moderator training, in case you're interested in volunteering for that.